Now I'm green. Silly. So I didn't understand why Josh wouldn't be my friend. This was essentially my first breakup. I really loved him. And I said, but I remember this so clearly. Why don't you want to be my friend? I'm so nice. I do nice things for people all the time, and I tell you about them. And he said, that's the problem. You don't do nice things for people because you want to be nice. You do nice things for people so you can tell me about it, so that other people notice. And my mom says, I don't have to be your friend anymore. Yes. Then, that coming Sunday, God gave me the other part of that message. So sitting in Catholic church in the middle of my family, I felt that God spoke to me through Father Cardinzana. He read from Matthew. When you do good things, don't do them in front of people to be seen by them. When you give to the poor, don't be like the hypocrites. They blow trumpets before they give so that people will see them. They want other people to honor them. So when you give to the poor, give secretly. Don't let anyone know what you're doing. Your giving should be done in secret. So I knew that if the smartest kid in class and God were telling me to back it off a little bit, I had some work to do. I unpacked this idea for a really, really long time. Even today, if I'm going to do something kind for someone, I kind of weigh, what is the situation? How can I help without this being about me? It was really profound, and I'm thankful that it happened, and Josh and I did eventually become friends again later on. See, my ego mind, or my human mind, was very needy. I needed someone to say, you're valid because you helped. You're kind because I can see you doing those things. I didn't yet understand that I was beloved because I existed. That was the part of me that was going to help the universe. Just like you, you are full and complete because you breathe. So my intentions were a little off course. The scripture I told you about, talks about helping in secret. And I like that because I believe that anytime you help in secret, there's this beautiful exchange of peace between you and your Creator, however you define your Creator, Holy Spirit, Source, God. We can't always give in secret. Sometimes it's got to be bigger than that. And that's what I want to talk about today. Sometimes it's helpful when our service is noticed, not to boost our egos or so that people will notice, like I really wanted Josh to notice me, but so that other people know where the help is needed. Sometimes when we step in to help, simply by showing up and doing the thing, we become a beacon of light. So people realize, oh, attention needs to go here. Now, how can I help? All of us are in need. So that's another part of it. If we're going to help others, it's good to get that ego part of us in check when we realize that we are not so perfect that we're extending our perfection to heal them. Oh, no, no, no. We step forward in brother and sisterhood as people who also need healing to share in that work with other people. So how do we share the message of helping others without boasting? Well, I really loved a few weeks ago when Cynthia talked about the miracle in your eye. And when she said, keep a miracle in your eye, instantly I thought of an Instagram filter, where whatever I looked at was going to look a little bit different because I have decided that I have a miracle in my eye. And I think if you can help people knowing that you are a small part of a beautiful helping miracle, that's going to take your ego out of it. You'll realize that you are one of the beautiful colors in that tapestry or prism of that miracle that you are helping. Live by example. Show what you're doing. Maybe you don't always have to talk about it, but maybe you show what you're doing by showing up. You can invite other people to share in the giving. Sometimes people have their own stuff, their own ideas about how to give, if they're worthy enough to give. What do I possibly have to offer the world? Sometimes they might just need a simple invitation. Just come along. see what it's like. And this part, maybe it's the hardest part for some of us. We accept help when we need it. We accept help when we need it. Helping is reciprocal. When I help you, something about you is also helping me. We overteach each other to be independent and self-supporting. We can be brave enough to ask for and accept help when we need it. When we're the helpers, it's important to remember that the people we're helping are our mirror. They reflect something in us that we need to see. When you think of it that way, the people we're helping, maybe their life circumstances at that moment might not be the same as you, but if they are your mirror, they have something in them that's meant to expand you and teach you, and vice versa. And I wonder what that would be like if we went into a service opportunity, or we changed our servants' hearts a little bit, and instead of looking outward, how can I fulfill something? I wonder what would happen if we changed it to the idea of a mirror. Whatever they need is also what I need. Whoever they are is also who I am. Their actions mirror my actions. Their words mirror my words. And sometimes we really have to stretch ourselves and go to meditation and prayer to figure out how that mirror is true for us, especially when someone's being real snarly with you and you think, well, how can that possibly mirror me? I'm nice. But we are complex. We have many, many layers. And helping others is one facet in your spiritual growth that can open you up to so much beautiful knowledge and connection to Christ. You don't earn points with God when you help someone else. Boy, I used to think that. I used to think that if I help someone, there must be some kind of good list up there that, oh, she did another one, tally mark. Ooh, that was a big one. Let's give her 2 tally marks. I really, really thought that. I think it's beautiful when we reframe that and remember that just by existing, we already have all of those tally marks. We're born with them. We're already accepted. And especially when we're teaching our children and each other, because we're all children. When we teach each other that we are good simply because we exist. Any help you give or receive broadens your understanding and brings you closer to love. This season, I wanted to bring forward some people in Des Moines that are doing this so that we can see their example. They've become the beacon of light for us. And also so we can start to think individually and as a group, how can we help? So a few weeks ago, Joppa was here to visit, and if you were not able to be here for that, you can go online and listen to that message. And if you need a connector, someone who can say, introduce you to the people at Joppa, I can be that person for you. But you can certainly just call up and say, what do you need? And I love that. I love that Spirit just gave me that idea, because I think sometimes when we're helping, we bulldoze right in and say, oh, this is how I'm going to help. But did you hear that? The question is, what do you need? How can I help? Currently, we have an opportunity to provide Christmas presents to adults with intellectual disabilities. They are served by Mosaic in Central Iowa. So what's special about this giving tree is the people who have listed their wish lists there, their budget does not allow for anything extra. So these are individuals just like us who anticipate gifts at Christmas, and it doesn't always happen. And so if you will go over to that Christmas tree and look to see if there's something that fits in your budget, I was very careful that everything was kind of $25 or below. But go look at that, because they'll come due in a few weeks. That should be an easy, anonymous way that you can give to others. And today, I am really excited. I've been just waiting for this for so long. Today we're going to hear a brief presentation from a dear friend of mine named Emily Osweiler. She's the executive director at YMCA Supportive Housing. As you hear her message, think about how you can help. How can you share the message she's sharing? Who will you share it with? And then after worship today, we're going to do what I call a service project where you dip your toes in. We're going to make cards for clients who are moving into their home. So they've gone from homelessness into their new home, and we're creating a keepsake that they'll have forever. So it's small, but it's profound. That'll take about 45 minutes, kind of during fellowship time. So I would like to introduce my dear friend, Emily Osweiler. This one? No, that's off. Test 1, 2.
Hello? Okay. Yay. Thank you. Thank you so much for that introduction. I'm Emily, and I'm a social worker. I'm with the YMCA Supportive Housing Campus. And when people ask me how I kind of got started doing what I'm doing now, I usually tell people my dad is a Quaker pastor turned psychologist, and my mom is a social worker for hospice and a therapist, so I never had a chance. So, and you said I had like 10, 15, because no, you shouldn't tell me that. I am so passionate. I could talk about this forever. I'll do 10 to 15 minutes, but then I will be here during your fellowship time. And so I welcome questions and all of that. Okay, signal. Awesome. So thank you so much for having me here today. This is a huge opportunity. Awareness is what I say is our most important need, even more important than money, I think, awareness, because there are so many people that haven't heard about us or what we're doing, and so spreading the word it makes a huge impact for us. We are at 2 Southwest 9th Street. That is right next door to West End Architectural Salvage, down by the social club. So there are a lot of people that say, oh, I've driven past there and I didn't even know that you were there. I didn't even know this was a part of the YMCA of Greater Des Moines. So share briefly with you about this. One way, let's see if I've got this. Oh man. Sorry guys. Technology is not. I was just trying to go to the next slide.
Yeah, I'm doing the right button. So you'll have to do it for her if you like wave it down.
Okay, it's not that big of it. It just makes it more interesting for all of you. I can talk about this in my sleep. But so usually to kind of illustrate what we are, what we do, I talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which you're probably familiar with. A lot of people are. The theory about human needs in this pyramid. And so if you think about if you don't know when your next meal is, if you don't know where you're going to sleep tonight, if you don't have appropriate clothes for an Iowa winter, you're not doing anything else. You are in day-to-day survival mode, and all of your resources are going to figuring those basic needs out. And so at the YMCA Supportive Housing Campus, we can help people meet those needs. People move in, and they have shelter now. They have a roof over their head. They have a home. We have clothes. We have a clothing closet. We have food. We do all kinds of food recovery and food programming, and we have a weekly meal, a minimum of a weekly meal. And so we have those resources, and so people don't have to be living in day-to-day survival mode. The next level, it's safety, it's security, it's stability. So think about not ever being able to come down from feeling unsafe. Maybe you are staying in a shelter and all of your worldly possessions are in a backpack and you're afraid to close your eyes at night because you're afraid someone will take the backpack out of your hands as you're sleeping. Or maybe you are staying on someone's couch and you're not safe from that person. Whatever it is, if you're always in this heightened state of awareness and not able to just kind of relax and feel at ease, that's all you're doing. You're just day to day trying to get through. Keep yourself safe, keep your stuff safe. So at the YMCA Supportive Housing Campus, we can help people meet those needs. People move in and we have 24/7 staff and a secured entrance. You have your own private apartment with a peephole and a deadbolt. And for so many people, they say, this is the first time I felt a sense of security. I can lock the door and I don't have to let someone in if I don't want to. It's my own private space. Case managers can help with stability. Just having an address and a phone number helps you find a job. You have something to put on a resume. So trying to meet those needs in a lot of different ways. But that next level, I think, is our niche. It's where my heart is, and I think it's what makes us different. It is community, it is belonging, and I would even argue that this is maybe the most foundational need of all. But, you know, again, if you think about this population walking around downtown, most of the time they're invisible. People don't look at them in the eyes. You cross the street so you don't have to pass someone on the sidewalk. You look down at your phone so you don't have to have that moment because either there's a stigma or you're afraid or you don't want to be asked for something. And so this population walks around feeling isolated. Can you imagine how isolating that would feel to see life passing before you and yet just out of your reach? People that don't know your name or what you're doing with your time. So at the YMCA Supportive Housing Campus, we can help meet those needs. People move in, and there's just this organic community that's formed that, you know, there are a lot of things that we do. Sure, we have complimentary coffee in the morning, so naturally people have coffee together and watch the news or read the paper and fellowship. We have the weekly meal, and so people come together and break bread. So we're doing a lot of that, but it's just its own community, just normal people, just like us. They're watching Sunday night football and planning Labor Day potlucks, and if they notice that someone's not at the meal, they go knock on their door and, do you need us to bring you something? They take each other to the doctor and help each other carry in groceries. And we call it a family, friends that are like family. And so there are other levels you can see, and there are other things we do, but I have to keep this brief. So I love that you had a song about weaving and tapestry, because I always say that it's just this beautiful tapestry of life. And there are people that have been there since we opened our doors in 2011. And there are people moving in tomorrow. And so at any time, everyone's on a different journey and in a different place and has a different need. And so the people that have maybe been there and had a period of stability and success, they are reaching their arms out to the people that are moving in that don't have any bootstraps, that don't have any boots, and saying, this is how you get bus tokens. This is where we do the meal, and kind of welcoming each other. So that's like the Cliff's Notes, I guess. That's the best I can do as far as painting a brief overview. Next slide, please. Okay, so what are we? We are what's called permanent supportive housing. So permanent apartment, people sign leases, they pay rent, they're building a rental history. As I'm talking, I realized some of the things I forgot to say already. So anyway, it's a permanent apartment. There is no time limit. You know, I think a lot of times people see it as a stepping stone, and they see it as a transitional to their next step, but it doesn't have to be that way. There is no time limit. So if you think about some of those things, if you're trying to get a federal housing voucher, if you're applying for Social Security benefits, those things could take longer than a couple years, you know. And so to have a time limit or something can really hold people up or paralyze people, feeling like, you know, is it going to be one step forward, two steps back, or what if I'm not ready? So not having a time limit has been awesome. And we're constantly redefining success, because success might mean that people leave with an apartment and a job and a car, and they're sober and they've reconnected with family, and that happens, and that's awesome. And sometimes success means they're not going to die this winter because they're inside. And people redefine their own success. People move in and they feel like, I made it. This is what I need. And then after a period of stability and success, they start to feel like, I could do something else. I could want a bigger space or more privacy, more independence. So we see that all the time. Our average length of stay is 506 days, which is about 17 months. Our leases are 6 months, and you can always sign a new one. So tells you people are staying about 3 leases. But we have had some people there since day one. So, um, you know, permanent housing, that's what that meant. But then supportive services, and that looks, because we have people kind of all over the place, different needs and different barriers and have different goals, the supportive services look different for everybody. You know, we have people moving in, choosing to live with us because maybe they have more of a financial burden in their life. They can't quite make ends meet. They've been evicted or laid off, or they have debt or child support or fines or whatever that might mean, but pretty self-sufficient, just need a hand up. On the other end of the continuum, we have people who have severe mental health issues, or they've been chronically experiencing homelessness for long periods of time or many times, histories of chronic substance abuse, and then everywhere in between, people who have a felony on their background, people fleeing domestic violence, 18-year-olds aging out of foster care, youth shelters. So you're kind of starting to see there is no one size fits all, you know, but what we can say is that everyone is home now. Everyone has a home. Everyone belongs here. We know your name. We call you by name. You belong. So we have all kinds of other supportive services. We have groups and classes and community activities and bus tokens and a food pantry and a clothing closet. So everything is on site. We try to be holistic and meet people where they're at. And that's kind of a snapshot, I guess. At any time, 35 to 40% of our residents are veterans. We're probably at 25 to 75%, 25% women, 75% men. I would say that probably 100% of our residents have experienced some form of trauma. So that's kind of the snapshot. Okay, yeah. So this just is, I usually share the community need in 3 stats, and this is one of them. A couple years ago, the Polk County Housing Trust Fund did a study. They looked at housing inventory in our community for people with an extremely low income. And so I'm looking at households of 1 because that's who we serve. And so that might be hard to see, but in 2017, there were 7,887 individuals with an extremely low income. So that's making $17,000 a year or less. And then they look to see how many apartments would be available to that population. So affordable to people at $17,000 or less a year, and, you know, efficiencies for 1 person. And there were 1,076. So not 1,076 available, like open, vacant apartments. That's all there were in our community. So you can see the gap. I can't do that math in my head. 6,811 people. So where are those people? They are outside. JOP is supporting them. They're in the shelters. They're doubled up. They're paying 50%, 60% of their income towards rent, just waiting to not, for the month that they don't have it. They're on our wait list. Our wait list averages around 100. It started creeping up. Last time I looked, it's 119 people are on our wait list. We have 140 apartments. So it can take upwards of a year to get in. So that's one stat I like to share. And that was 2017. It's only gotten worse. There's been a lot of great new development in our community, which is needed. But what happens is then the apartments are redeveloped, and then they're not affordable anymore to the population that lived there before. And so units are coming off of the market that aren't affordable anymore. So the gap continues to grow. I would say that we're in a housing crisis. The next stat is that this is the 2018 stat because we're still in 2019, but there were 12,180 Iowans that experienced homelessness. You think about that number. That is the size of, that's bigger than Norwalk. That's about the size of Boone. I mean, that's a substantial town in Iowa. And those are only the people that utilized shelters and services. So if they were staying with friends and family and just kind of making ends meet, oh dear. Okay, so this is a new initiative that we've started. We call it the Graduate Program. And I can hang out and tell people later about it, but the idea is that it's trying to help support people in the way that they need it because there is a huge cliff for people when they move out. So this is trying to help people who want to move out with that support, kind of extend the safety net, but also helping impact our wait list so that we can bring in someone that maybe is more vulnerable. So I can tell you all about that later. These are, we make a lot of promises to our residents. So we give everyone a welcome home basket when they move in, with a card that volunteers make, staff sign. It's got some of those basics that you need right away, like toilet paper. Food stamps don't buy toilet paper, but you need it on night one. Um, on their 1 year anniversary, we give them a homemade blanket. So we have people that make quilts or the fleece tie blankets. And, being housed for a year is a huge deal for a lot of our residents. So you get a certificate and you get to come pick what blanket will look beautiful in your apartment, because handmade is love. And we don't want the blanket from Target. We want the blanket with the love in it. Cards. Yep. So lots of ways that people can get involved. Cranes. A paper crane is a symbol of hope and healing during a challenging time. And I have some cranes that I brought with me today that our residents made. And so we give them to volunteers and supporters and donors as a way to say thank you that you've been with us during our challenging time and remember us. And so I've got those to give you. But I think I just want to end with a quote, because as I've been through this journey, I think, there's a lot going on, and you wonder, how can you make a difference? And you've probably all heard the starfish story. Made a difference for that one. That really resonates with me. But I think the biggest things are home and what we call family. I think people need people. People need to feel a sense of belonging. And so this quote about home fell across my desk the other day, and I'll end with it. Home is ultimately not about a place to live, but about the people with whom you are most fully alive. Home is about love, relationship, community, and belonging, and we are all searching for home.